Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Nancy Godi Angonihu. And on sign language is Precious or Zemene. We begin with the headlines. Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council presents Ease of Doing Business action. Former head of state, General Gowon, wants members of Nigerian Institute of Public Relations to evolve values to promote national unity. Federal government launches fistula-free intervention program, promises to reach out to vulnerable women in Nigeria. And Iranians cast their ballots in presidential election following death of President Ibrahim Raisi. And now the news in full. EU leaders struck a summit deal Thursday to return Ursula von der Leyen as head of the powerful European Commission, while tipping Estonia's Prime Minister Kaja Kallas as the bloc's top diplomat. From Pani reports.
Priorities with a view to winning the confidence of Parliament. Rounding up the list, lawmakers are expected to return the EPP's Roberta Metsola as EU Parliament President. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz hailed the quick, forward-looking decisions on top jobs, saying the nominees will ensure that Europe is well-positioned in challenging times in the coming years, with France heading to the polls Sunday for the first round of an election where the far-right National Rally has a chance of leading the government. There was clear eagerness to get EU jobs squared away. Hungary's nationalist leader Viktor Orban had denounced it as a stitch-up, saying European voters have been deceived. Though his opposition was not enough to derail the accord, which needed support of 15 out of 27 leaders. Leaders appeared more concerned to secure buy-in from Italy's Meloni, who had called the deal-making process surreal and accused fellow leaders of acting like oligarchs.
Parliamentary elections on Friday, with the ruling party widely expected to win, despite deepening public anger over corruption and the state of the economy. The report.
People across the vast, sparsely populated nation of 3.4 million, sandwiched between China and Russia, are voting to elect 126 members of the state Great Khural. Polls opened at 7 a.m. local time Thursday and will close at 10 p.m. with preliminary results expected later at night. Analysts expect the ruling Mongolian party, MPP, led by Prime Minister Lufsan Namsrein Oyun Erden, to retain the majority it has enjoyed since 2016 and govern the country for another 4 years. The party can credit much of its success to a bonanza for the past decade in coal mining that fueled double-digit growth and dramatically improved standards of living, as well as a formidable party machine and a weak, fractured opposition, they say. Yet, there is deep public frustration over endemic corruption, as well as the high cost of living and lack of opportunities for young people who make up almost two-thirds of the population. There is also a widespread belief that the proceeds of coal mining boom are being hoarded by a wealthy elite, a view that has sparked frequent protest. Preliminary results are expected to come within a few hours of polls closing despite Mongolia's vast size, thanks to assistance from automated vote counting. Former President Sarkisyan Elbegorj, who held office for the opposition Democratic Party from 2009 to 2017, hailed the start of the election on X on Friday morning, writing, "As the Mongolian saying goes, it is better to live by your own choice than according to others' choices." From Pani, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Iranians cast their ballots Friday in a presidential election marked by a lone reformist's bid to break through against a divided conservative field. Let's hear more from Pani.
Around 61 million Iranians are eligible to vote in the election called after the death of ultra-conservative President Ibrahim Raisi in a helicopter crash last month. The snap election comes against a backdrop of heightened regional tensions over the Gaza war and disconnect over the state of Iran's sanctions-hit economy. The leading contenders approved by the Guardian Council, which vets candidates, are Conservative Parliament Speaker Muhammad Baghar Ghalibaf, ultra-conservative former nuclear negotiator Saeed Jalili, and the sole reformist Masood Pezeshkian. The only other candidate is cleric Mustafa Paul Mahamadi, after two ultra-conservatives, Tehran Mayor Alireza Zakani and Rais's former Vice President Amir Hussein Ghazizadeh Hashemi, dropped out on the eve of the election. At the last poll in 2021, turnout was just under 49% as voters opted to stay away after the Guardian Council disqualified many reformists and moderates. Ahead of this election, some voters expressed concerns about the mounting effects of soaring inflation and decline of real against the dollar. But those who trickled into polling stations on Friday said they were showing their support for the system. Polling stations are scheduled to remain open until 6 p.m., though voting could be extended as in previous elections. Early projection of the results are expected by Saturday morning and official results by Sunday. If no candidate wins 50% of the vote, a second round will be held in July 5 for only the second time in Iranian electoral history after the 2005 vote went to a runoff. Frama Panyi.
A roof has collapsed in Delhi airport after heavy rain, killing one person and injuring four others. Reports say huge pillars supporting the roof smashed into cars parked along the airport's Terminal 1. All flights from the terminal have been temporarily suspended and check-in counters have been closed. India's aviation regulator has advised airlines to accommodate passengers on alternate flights or offer them refunds. The accident has impacted travel plans of thousands as most domestic flights take off from Terminal 1. Some airlines have shifted flight operations to the remaining two terminals at the airport. Delhi Airport is run by a consortium led by Indian firm GMR, which describes itself as the world's second largest private airport operator. It also has interests in energy and highways. The Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council has presented its 90-day regulatory reform accelerator action plan aimed at improving Nigeria's business environment. Vice President Kashim Shettima at the event restated commitment to delivering the dual mandate of bureaucratic and legislative constraints on ease of doing business in Nigeria. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrilla reports.
These 8 indicators are listed on here, and I will just quickly speak to them very briefly.
The target of these stakeholders is reforming Nigeria's business environment through facilitation of National Single Window Project, tracking of efficiency reforms, and delivering measurable growth in productivity, among other initiatives.
Our collective aspiration is that the reforms, along with the insights and learning from this regulatory reform accelerator, will drive measurable impact for productivity and competitiveness across key sectors to improve the Nigerian business environment and support the economic initiatives of the government.
So after the past 120 days, after a slow start, we're glad to see that indeed out of 1,187 activities across 36 agencies spanning 14 ministries, 876 of them were successfully completed. So we commend the NTAs for the hard work.
Since inception in July 2016, over 180 verifiable business reforms have been implemented through stakeholders' engagement. And the federal government is saying despite the achievements recorded, more needs to be done.
Our public sector reforms have achieved a collective score of over 80% at the beginning of the 90-day regulatory reform accelerator. The regulatory reform accelerator is an avenue to inject life into our economy and renew the hope of our nation. The quality of your ideas and the intensity of your energy today are the very sparks we need to stay on track and to always remind ourselves of the burden of expectations upon us. As we reflect on the measurable outcomes of the regulatory reform accelerator, I urge all stakeholders, particularly the MDS, We build on the gains of the past 120 days with a sense of urgency and purpose.
The Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council is working directly and actively with 53 ministries, departments and agencies, and what is expected is more action for greater economic outcomes. In Abuja, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
President Bola Tinubu has congratulated the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, at her 63rd birthday. President Tinubu celebrates the global icon and one of Nigeria's lodestars, beaming light on the path to a more prosperous, peaceful and safe future for humanity, describing her as a leading advocate of the environment, education and the sustainable development goals, who has applied herself in many capacities to the service of Nigeria and the global community. It will be recalled that Amina Mohammed coordinated the Task Force on Gender and Education for the United Nations Millennium Project from 2002 to 2005 and has served meritoriously on numerous international advisory boards and panels. She was Nigeria's Minister of Environment from 2015 to 2017 and is credited for mobilizing all government and non-government oil and gas stakeholders to achieve the launch of the Ogoniland cleanup. The Senate Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development has received a draft bill on agricultural extension aimed at strengthening food production in the country. The bill was drafted by the key players in the agricultural sector under the umbrella of the Women Farmers Advancement Network. Musa Baba Aliyu reports.
The bill was drafted based on concerns over the neglect of agricultural extension services in the country. It has been established that Nigeria is among the countries with the lowest population of agricultural extension workers. Salamatu Garba, who championed the documentation of the draft bill, said that if passed into law, all the challenges associated with the farmers' output will be addressed. She presented the draft bill to the chairman of the Senate Committee on Agriculture, Produce and Rural Development, Saliu Mustafa.
Backed up by the Federal Department of Agric Extension, we are backed up by Ministry of Justice, we are backed up by all the legal bodies and all the departments that are supposed to be part of this journey. So we see it as a business that is completed by the grace of God.
Senator Saliu Mustafa assured stakeholders in the agricultural sector of the speedy passage of the Agricultural Extension Revitalization Bill into law. He said that his team would quickly look at the bill, make necessary adjustment, and proceed with the reading on the floor of the Senate, subsequent passage, and presidential assent.
Some of my team members, I don't think we will have anything again to waste time on. So it will just be for us to see how we can quickly move into action in making sure that the bill is being taken to the floor, and to now see how we will get the president to assent to it.
Between the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security,
Director of the Field Extension Services of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, Olumi Ayodele, said expectations of the ministry, particularly the Department of Agriculture Extension, is that the agricultural extension delivery system in Nigeria will be strengthened. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International. More reports when we come back.
Tuberculosis, popularly known as TB, is an airborne disease that can be contacted by anybody regardless of age, tribe, and socioeconomic status. Despite availability of new testing equipment for TB, diagnosing TB in children is still more difficult than in adults. During the National Childhood TB Testing Week that will be taking place across the country, healthcare workers from the national and state TB programs, with support of various partners, will visit our communities to create more awareness and conduct screening and testing for TB among children. TB is treatable and curable only if detected early. Every child's life matters. Let us join hands together and end TB among our children and in Nigeria. Thank you. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Thanks for staying with us. Former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, has called on members of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, NIPR, to continue partnering with the government and the citizens to promote values that will ensure national stability, progress and unity. He said this at the dinner and award night of Nigerian Institute of Public Relations Diamond celebrations, affirming that together as Nigerians, we can build bridges across our differences and work towards a future where every Nigerian feels a sense of belonging and valued. Hamman Jabani was there.
The Nigerian Institute of Public Relations Diamond Celebration Dinner and Award Night saw former Head of State General Yakubu Gowon, former First Lady Patience Jonathan, Professor David Adamu, and Professor Jerry Ghana receiving the Diamond Icon Awards.
Thank you, sir, for what you have done for this country, and I present this to you on behalf of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. Congratulations, sir.
During the last 60 years, the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations has demonstrated faith and commitment to nation building.
General Yakubu Gowon says the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations plays the crucial role in shaping Nigeria's national identity and fostering a culture of mutual respect and understanding among the people.
I have consistently emphasized the importance of national unity, believing that a united Nigeria is the most essential tool for our progress, development and stability as a nation.
Longest serving, oldest member who is 105 years old was specifically honored by all corporate bodies, individuals, ministries, departments and agencies, including Nigerian Television Authority, state governors, states, former presidents of NIPR state chapters, among others, were honored at the event.
This award is in recognition of NTA's contributions to the success that has been achieved by NIPR in the last 60 years. It has been NTA all the way. Others met us along the way. So I'm very, very proud for this recognition. And there's a partnership between NTA and NIPR now, which is aimed at further strengthening the bond and supporting each other, if you like. So I'm very happy.
That we are doing well. But in all of this, the NIPR charter have to be amended. It has lived almost outliving its usefulness.
The NIPR has a long institutional relationship with Nasarawa State University, has provided necessary learning and moral training the members of the Institute of NIPR. We are very happy to see this.
Your country is unnecessarily, and your people are unnecessarily stigmatized. Do not stigmatize yourself along ethnic and religious lines. Let us forge the kind of unity where we fight for each other.
Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
The federal government is currently reviewing the situation of out-of-school children in the country with a view to adopting new strategies to address the situation. Minister of State for Education, Dr. Sunonu, said in Abuja that as a key component of the renewed hope agenda of the present administration, all aspects of education are being revamped in line with mandates given to the ministry by President Bola Tinubu. He said one key strategy is to bring all the MDAs in the ministry on board in fashioning out the appropriate programs tailored to meet the aspirations of the country to become top in education on the continent and improve the literacy level of every part of the country.
Over 20 million out-of-school children, as reported by many non-governmental and international partners, with a figure of 10.6 million as reported by University Education, or depending on the parameter used, all are not acceptable. And for us in the 20th century, Nigeria is supposed to be proud as one of the leading countries in terms of literacy rate and in terms of getting our children to school. So Mr. President gave us a mandate to ensure that we reduce the number of out-of-school children, or we eradicate the impossible to reduce it to the minimum.
Also expressed delight over the overwhelming acceptability the student loan scheme has received among stakeholders, describing it as a game changer. Now, the need to promote and adopt the compressed natural gas (CNG) as a sustainable and cost-effective economic fuel alternative in Nigeria has become pertinent. Some key players in the industry stated this at a stakeholders event held at the Portland Gas Limited in Abuja. Francis Udojo reports.
Occasioned by the hike in price of petrol and the relative effect on the economy of the nation, government and key stakeholders believe the answer lies with the compressed natural gas and are optimistic that the abundance of natural gas in Nigeria is hope for now and the future.
And Mr. President has clearly said we're a gas nation before we are an oil producing nation. So we are using our own resources, which is not impacted by geopolitical issues. You know, if Russia is disturbing Ukraine, it's not going to affect the price of gas because the gas is our own. The price of petrol is affected because we are on, we're dealing with world.
As stakeholders, your collaboration and commitment are essential.
It's a step in the right direction. One, it will bring down the cost of operation. You know, you imagine that from Lagos to Kano costs you about 1,000 liters and above. And if the cost of a diesel, maybe say 900 naira, depending on the location, that's a substantial amount of money. And compared to gas, it's about 75% off.
The managing director of Portland Gas Limited, Folajimi Lai Muhammad, enumerated some of the advantages of adopting CNG as an alternative means to petrol, to include CNG vehicles have a longer engine lifespan due to the cleaner burning properties of the fuel.
When the transporters start to get an easier or early adoption in terms of converting to CNG, then the effect of the cushioning of subsidy via CNG will be felt immediately. So the idea was to get policymakers, stakeholders, the transporters, so that we could ask questions such as financing, questions such as safety, and questions that would really make sure that the adoption is very high.
Organizer took time to showcase its conversion workshop as it is opened to training mechanics in the adoption world. Francis Udojo, NTA News.
There is a renewed and collective commitment by key players to take responsibility for their health and the environment through proper waste management and regular sanitation. This is just as the Federal Ministry of Environment engages Chika community on the 2024 National Environmental Sanitation Day, celebrated on the 28th of June every year. Charles Alpha reports.
In 2005, former President Olusegun Obasanjo declared June 28 every year as the National Environmental Sanitation Day, with the Federal Ministry of Environment in collaboration with stakeholders using the day as a platform to highlight the importance of sanitation and hygiene as a veritable tool for disease prevention and control.
Effective environmental sanitation and hygiene are thus crucial as they affect public health, ecosystem balance, and our well-being.
The Federal Ministry of Environment and its health officers, the World Health Organization, and other partners converge on Chika, another community in the FCT, to further consolidate on this mandate, with school children again at the center of the celebration. There, the Minister of State for Environment, Isiaq Salako, presented sanitation equipment to the Chika traditional ruler, followed by practical demonstration of the application and treatment of water with chlorine to prevent cholera, as well as planting of trees to mark the day.
But the fact of the matter is that until we have good sanitation in our environment, we will continue to grapple with a lot of diseases.
Chika village commitment to proper waste management and tree planting practices.
The theme for this year's National Environmental Sanitation Day is Go Greener, Stay Clean, Climate Change is Real. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
The National Health Insurance Authority, NTAi, has launched a fistula-free intervention program, which promises to reach out to vulnerable women in 4 pilot states in Nigeria. Uche Ugochukwu reports that the coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Ali Pate, flagged off the program in Abuja.
Records show Nigeria accounts for 7.5% of the 2 million global burden of obstetric fistula, a devastating childbirth injury affecting thousands of women, especially underage ones, annually. The NTAi says it committed huge resources to the fistula-free intervention program, including funding for surgical interventions, rehabilitation services, and public awareness campaigns geared towards destigmatizing fistula and encouraging affected women to seek help.
We are looking at, the design of the vulnerable fund to prioritize equity and enhance safety nets for the poor and vulnerable. Beyond the treatments, the plan is to also ensure that they are enrolled into a social health insurance program that will cater to them so that we can build sustainability to the outcomes that we have achieved.
The authority plans to roll out this initiative nationwide, starting with 4 pilot states. To this end, the NTAi, HMOs and fistula centers signed a 1-year renewable memorandum of understanding to provide a comprehensive care spanning from prevention to treatment for every woman in need.
This is a huge relief for the center, but it will now free us to do a lot of preventive activities in our various communities.
Many women have fistula because they don't have access to this high-level service. That is what we're trying to fix in the sector-wide program, to improve the health outcomes, starting with women and children, through the primary healthcare system, so that we can crush maternal mortality.
Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Ali Pate, inaugurated a steering committee chaired by NHIA Director General Dr. Kelechi Ohiri to, among other things, provide strategic guidance and direction for the intervention. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
And that's it on the news on NTA International. Precious Ozemene has been on sign language, and I'm Nancy Godiangonihu thanking you for watching.
Cholera, a devastating bacterial infection, often spreads through contaminated water or food. The current outbreak in the West African region has reportedly affected 14 countries, with about 5 of them categorized as being in acute crisis. And this is being attributed to a combination of factors such as inadequate sanitation, poor water quality, and challenges in healthcare infrastructure, which are worsened by environmental and climate-related factors. Our program this week focuses efforts led by the World Health Organization to control this crisis, as well as the measures being implemented by the Nigerian government, which is having its share of the outbreak. You're welcome to Global Health Digest. I am Uche Ugochukwu. Let's begin with the background reports.
Cholera is an infection of the small intestine by some strains of the bacterium Vibrio cholerae. It is caused by a number of the types of Vibrio cholerae, with some types producing more severe disease than others. Cholera spreads mostly through unsafe water and unsafe food that has been
You're watching Global Health Digest on NTA International. Managing cholera outbreaks requires a multi-pronged approach: rapid detection and response, provision of timely treatment, coordination between local authorities, international organizations, and communities are essential for containing the spread. Technical Officer on Cholera from the World Health Organization Regional Office for Africa, Nairobi Emergency Hub, Dr. Fred Kapaya, via Zoom from Kenya, sheds light on this.
I just restrict myself to the year 2024 in which we are. So globally, I must indicate that from January up to 20th of June this year, we've seen a total of 219,300 cases with 1,000 deaths globally. Out of these, 98,666 cases and 1,648 deaths have been recorded in the WHO African region. As you may be aware, WHO covers about or supports about 47 countries in the African region. So in this, we have recorded 98,666 cases with 1,648 deaths. So you can clearly see that the biggest burden of cholera is actually in our region. And currently, we must indicate that we have 3 countries that are in acute crisis at the moment, because we've seen a downward trend in a lot of countries. So currently, the countries that are of concern are the Comoros, DRC, and Ethiopia. When we say, the issue of these outbreaks keeps recurring, you must understand that cholera is a developmental issue. It's a developmental problem, and it has mainly been contributed by weaknesses, especially in water, sanitation, and hygiene services. And you will note that in countries where this disease has been eliminated, there's been massive investment in improving water infrastructure, in improving sanitation and hygiene. But I think we haven't moved as much in the African region to improve water supply, to improve sanitation and hygiene. And now, in addition to that, we've also noted that there are lots of other vulnerabilities and also other issues that are happening in the African region, especially issues to do with climate change, with increases in flooding, in droughts, and then also issues of humanitarian crisis, conflicts that also have plagued actually our region. So all these actually are contributing to the recurrence of the cholera outbreak. Of course, added to these weaknesses in our healthcare systems, and that is one of the things that we would want to really support as WHO, to ensure that member states have systems that are resilient and systems that can repel any of these in the future. Yes, giving a background that in 2017, there was a revitalization of the Global Task Force on Cholera Control, and this resulted in the coming up with a strategy at the global stage, which we call the Ending Cholera 2030 strategy, followed by actually in the African region, we came up with a framework to support the implementation of the global strategy. And this framework was adopted by all the 47 member countries. Now, this is based on 6 pillars that are very key when it comes to preparedness and improving the preparedness and ensuring that we are able to control and eliminate cholera. And this hinges on working together in a multi-sectoral manner, So it talks about, the pillar on water, sanitation and hygiene, the pillar on surveillance and laboratory, the use of oral cholera vaccines, improving healthcare system, and also community engagement, and these are supposed to be anchored on leadership and coordination. So these are the pillars that we've been working on to try and improve preparedness. And I must indicate that, yes, we have seen an increase in the outbreaks of cholera, but there has been also marked improvement in terms of the response, in terms of the capacities that were built in the countries, and these have helped us to reduce, because some of these outbreaks that we've seen, if these outbreaks occurred, say, in the 90s or early 2000, maybe it would have been a bit bigger and caused more havoc, but because of the improvement in preparedness, the improvement in our readiness to ensure that the ground, this has helped to reduce or to minimize the impact of the outbreak. Indeed, the preparedness can really go a long way. The problem is we are more reactive than proactive. In most cases, you see most of the people coming on board when there's an outbreak, but ideally we should be preparing before an outbreak occurs. That way we can actually prevent, we can avert, we can minimize the impact of these outbreaks. Outbreaks of cholera occur amongst people, occurs in the community, so they must be part and parcel of the interventions that we are putting in place. So what we are doing is to capacitate the communities, to give them the relevant information and how they can work with us so that they are able to report early, so that some of the vulnerabilities that we see and some of the practices that we see, once the communities improve, we are able to prevent quite a lot of things. In terms of detection, we are working on improving. When you talk about detection, you want to pick the cholera cases early, so that once you pick them, then you can put in measures to make sure that it does not spread. Then the other thing is, when we actually suspect, so we need to confirm so that we know that we have cholera. So again, here we are working on improving our laboratory capacity in most of our countries, even in the rural areas, to ensure that we pick up these cases. Then when it comes to response, we want to make sure that we have capacities enough, adequate capacities to be able to respond effectively.
Oh yes, Dr. Kapaya, a comprehensive approach is necessary to tackle cholera outbreaks effectively. Turning attention to Nigeria now, Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, NCDC, Dr. Idris Jide, briefed on the situation of the crisis in the country and the ongoing prevention and response efforts at the national and subnational levels. Here is the excerpts.
As of the 24th of June 2024, a total number of 1,528 suspected cases and 53 deaths have been recorded across 31 states, 107 local governments, with a case fatality rate of 3.5% since the beginning of the year. 3.5% is the average now, and the national expected average is just 1%. So we find these fatalities as not just statistics, but a significant loss of loved family members, spouses, and parents, and often a seasoned healthcare worker and team member. This situation is likely to be compounded as the rainy season intensifies. In response to the rapidly increasing cholera cases, a dynamic risk assessment was conducted by subject matter experts on cholera outbreak situation in Nigeria. The subject matter experts were drawn from relevant ministries, Ministry of Health, Environment, Agriculture, Water Resources, etc., relevant federal departments, agencies, stakeholders, and our major partners. The outcome of the risk assessment placed the country at high risk of increased risk of cholera transmission and impact. The risk levels are 4. We have it low, medium, high, and very high. This high-risk placement demands our immediate and coordinated actions, and therefore necessitated the activation of the National Cholera Multi-Stakeholder Emergency Operations Center, EOC, in Nigeria today. The decision to activate the EOC underscores the gravity of the situation and our unwavering commitment to protecting the health and well-being of every Nigerian. The Emergency Operations Center will serve as a nerve center for the coordination of response across the country. It will also support affected states and local governments, facilitate rapid communication, data analysis, and decision-making processes, mobilize resources, strengthen surveillance and diagnostic capacity and capabilities, enhance case management, training and intensify public awareness and community engagement activities. To also effectively do this, an incident manager has also been appointed who will coordinate the day-to-day activities of this center and also involve several pillars, key people to address key situations like surveillance, which also include data collection, analysis, and dissemination, case management, the use of oral cholera vaccine, coordination, infection prevention and control, IPC, logistics support, and research. Prior to the inactivation of the EOC, the CDC has, through the National Cholera Technical Working Group, carried out the following preventive and response efforts: pre-positioning and distribution of medical supplies for case management, IPC, laboratory diagnosis, etc., to all 36 plus 1 states. Provision of off-site and on-site support to states, especially Lagos State and Ogun. Lagos State has recorded and now is now the number 1, recording the highest number of cases. And follow-up for daily reporting and progress with response activities. We've also done ongoing sub-national level training of laboratory scientists on sample collection and analysis, as well as training of community mobilizers on cholera key messages. We've distributed jingles, flyers, and posters containing key messages on cholera prevention to all states and the Federal Capital Territory.
As it has been well established, tackling outbreaks requires wide sector approach. So we engaged the Director of Disease Control and Immunization of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Rifai Garba, for measures at that end.
We had gotten some vaccine approvals as at 2021, in telling you that in the preparedness that we know that some of these things might happen, we had gotten some approvals and we got some quantity which were used in Kano. So we still expect the remaining of the approvals. We have close to like 7 million doses that we're still expecting to come into the country. However, there is a global shortage of the cholera vaccine, knowing that it's not only Nigeria that is being hit by the cholera right now. So ab initio, we had 3 producers of cholera vaccine globally in the whole world. 2 of those companies have actually folded up, 1 had been bought over, and so we have particularly 1 producer for the whole world right now. And we are in touch with our foreign partners to ensure that we get adequate doses. And what the MPCDA has also tried to do, we're trying to find the vaccines locally to ensure that some of these big pharma that have stocked this vaccine to also purchase this vaccine and keep. So vaccination is not the only response to an outbreak. There are the other pillars, and those ones are also active. And we're also, with the coming of the EOC that was inaugurated, the plans are on to ensure that these vaccines come into the country, and immediately they come into the country, we'll go all out there and vaccinate Nigerians to ensure that, yes, we're able to control this. But that said, I would also like to add that the cholera is a disease of unhygienic. So what what we need to promote very well is Nigerians should take care of their environment. Nigerians should try to be clean. Nigerians should boil their food before they eat. Nigerians should clear their gutters. Should have a very hygienic environment. And yes, the government will also have to do some major investment in water, some major investment in waste management, and actually go out there. That's why I say we have the Minister of Information as part of the EOC to ensure that information around how cholera can be prevented and how to maintain the proper hygienic and infection prevention control measures are actually understood by the populace and being practiced by the populace beyond all of these vaccines and the other measures that are in place.
You heard Dr. Garba. Beyond vaccine, clean environment is crucial. This propelled us to seek insights from the Registrar of the Environmental Health Council of Nigeria, Dr. Yakubu Mohammed Baba, on activities to achieve a cholera-free Nigeria.
The cholera outbreak is one of the reactions of the environment to human for the abuse of that particular environment. And it is very simple scenario. When you defecate outside, the first rain came in and it washed away all the waste and also the fecal matter into the body of water. Then this triggered the outbreak, more especially in communities that are within the riverine area. As a council, we are major stakeholders because we regulate the practice of environmental health. And the disposition of the council is we have over 60,000 personnel on ground that are distributed from the ward level to the local government level, to the state government, and also at the federal level. So what we did for the past 2 weeks, we embarked on what we call emergency capacity building. We have activated our emergency environmental health emergency response team that are in place. Anytime we have emerging issue, we activate those our emergency response team. What do they do? When you go to the field now, you will see they are doing what we call environmental health surveillance in predominantly cholera active communities. Not only that, also last 2 weeks or so, we collected samples of food and water, because food and water are the major vehicle of transmission of cholera. And this media, food and water, also fall under our full view. Out of 200 samples we have so far collected, 80% are positive. Then what is the next level of our also approach or our contribution to the curtailing of this outbreak? We have 5-dimensional approach. The first one is we have done the collection of the sample. The second one is meeting the community at the household level to create awareness that they need to do what we call simple chlorination and boiling of water before drinking, no matter the source, whether the source is contaminated source or not contaminated source, so that it will be proactive. Secondly, we also let the public that they should avoid taking fresh vegetable, raw food that we normally take in the market. We also try to teach them how to apply simple hygiene measures by making sure that whatever fruits they brought to the house, whatever vegetable they brought to the house, they must clean it with salt or vinegar to make sure that the strength of the bacteria is killed. I quite appreciate what the president is saying, because we don't need to work in silos, and I believe the committee, which comprise environment, health, water resources, finance, and other key ministries, is a very laudable one, and we believe we can sit down together, and if we sit down together, we can complement each other and try and see how we can address the gap by everybody bringing their strength in that committee so that we can work collectively and address the issue.
Mitigating disease outbreak is everyone's business. Play your part in maintaining good health and healthy environments. Just as we always advise you, take responsibility for your health. I am Uche Ugochukwu. I trust you know better now. See you same time next week. Bye.